The gym was buzzing that Saturday afternoon. The thud of fists on heavy bags, the sharp snap of kicks against pads, the low murmur of spectators watching. It was a martial arts academy in the suburbs, usually filled with kids and teenagers, but today, something unusual was happening. A man walked in quietly, holding his daughter's small hand. He wasn't dressed like a fighter. Just jeans, a worn-out t-shirt, and boots that had clearly seen better days. His name was Daniel. A single dad. A veteran. A man who had survived war, but still wrestled with the daily battles of raising a little girl on his own. "Daddy, can we watch the karate people?" his daughter asked, her eyes wide. Daniel smiled faintly and nodded. "Just for a little while, sweetheart." They found a spot near the bleachers. At first, nobody noticed them. But eventually a group of black belts, 12 of them, lined up on the mat. They were young, strong, full of energy. And one of them pointed toward Daniel. "Hey, sir. You look like you've still got some fight in you. Want to spar?" The crowd chuckled. Daniel shook his head politely. "I'm just here with my daughter." But the black belts insisted, their tone a mix of teasing and curiosity. "Come on, old man. Just one round. Show us what you got." Daniel glanced at his daughter, who whispered, "Daddy, you can do it." So he stood up. Slowly. Calmly. And when he stepped onto the mat, the room shifted. His posture wasn't flashy, but there was something steady. Controlled. Like a man who had already seen too much to be rattled by kids and belts. She worked tirelessly, 3 jobs at once, cleaning by night, working at a bakery in the mornings, and doing freelance design work in between. She barely slept, yet somehow, she managed to create a life for her daughters. Her home was small but warm, her table modest but full of laughter. Every bedtime story, every meal she cooked from scratch, every tiny pair of shoes she managed to buy, they were her victories. The world saw her as poor, but her daughters saw her as everything. Meanwhile, Ethan's world was dazzling. He had become a well-known businessman, wealthy and admired. His wedding to his new fiancée, a socialite from a prominent family, was set to be one of the grandest events of the year. When the invitation reached Lila's mailbox, she stared at it in disbelief. It wasn't out of kindness, she knew Ethan too well. It was a statement. A performance. He wanted to show her how far he'd come, how high he'd climbed, while she supposedly remained beneath him. For a moment, she almost tore the invitation apart. But then, she smiled faintly. She wasn't the same woman he left behind. Her daughters had given her a purpose far greater than revenge. Yet, perhaps fate was offering her a chance to show. After the vows barely registered in his ears. After the ceremony, as guests gathered for photos, Lila tried to quietly leave. But fate had one last scene to play. One of her daughters stumbled, dropping her small bouquet, and the sound made everyone turn. Ethan's eyes fell on the little girl's, and suddenly he noticed it. The golden curls. The dimples. The unmistakable resemblance. His breath caught. They were his daughters. He staggered slightly, his world spinning. His new bride noticed his expression, following his gaze, and the truth dawned on her too. Whispers spread through the crowd like wildfire. People gasped as realization set in. The groom's ex-wife had raised his children alone. Triplets. Lila picked up her daughter's hand gently, her composure never breaking. For years she had dreamed of this moment, not for revenge, but for closure. She turned to face him once more, her eyes meeting his. There was no anger there, no accusation. Just a quiet forgiveness that cut deeper than any words could. Ethan walked toward her slowly, his lips trembling as he tried to speak, but she simply smiled, her eyes glistening with grace. She whispered softly enough that only he could hear. "Don't look so shocked, Ethan. Life doesn't always punish, sometimes it just teaches." With that, she led her daughters back to the limousine, their little hands waving goodbye to the crowd. The cameras clicked, capturing an image that would spread far beyond the event, the powerful silhouette of a woman walking away with dignity, grace, and everything that truly mattered. As the limo pulled away, Ethan stood there in silence, surrounded by luxury yet feeling utterly empty. He realized that in chasing wealth and status, he had lost the only treasure that ever mattered. His guests, once admiring, now looked at him differently, not as a man who had won, but one who had thrown away something irreplaceable. That night, when the wedding festivities ended, he sat alone in his suite, scrolling through old photos on his phone, the ones he had never deleted. A younger Lila smiling, paint on her face as they painted their first apartment. Her holding the first ultrasound photo. Her handwriting on the back of a crumpled note. "I believe in you." He broke down for the first time in years. But Lila didn't need to see it. She was already home, tucking her daughters into bed, reading them their favorite story. Her life wasn't perfect, but it was full. She knew now that true success wasn't measured in money or prestige, it was measured in peace, resilience, and love. And she had all three. Days later, her story quietly spread online after someone from the wedding shared a photo of her arrival. People around the world were moved, not by her wealth or beauty, but by her grace. Messages flooded in, some recognizing her fashion brand, others calling her an inspiration for single mothers everywhere. Her business exploded overnight. But more than fame, what filled her heart was something simpler, the knowledge that she had faced the hardest battles alone and had come out stronger, not bitter. Months later, Ethan reached out with a letter, apologizing, asking to meet his daughters. Lila read it carefully. Her heart, though scarred, was not hardened. She allowed the meeting, for her children's sake. But she had already closed that chapter. She greeted him politely, introduced him to his daughters, and as they played nearby, she said quietly, "They don't need your money, Ethan. They just need your honesty. Be the father they deserve, not the man you once were." He nodded, tears in his eyes, realizing the depth of the woman he had underestimated. Lila walked away that day with her head high, her heart lighter than ever. She had once been invited to be shamed, but she left admired. The world often measures power and status, but true strength is in how you rise after being broken. And Lila had risen, beautifully, fearlessly, completely.